What is going on, everybody? This is Michael Blazing Confused, and we are doing a video today on Betty Blake, which is Betty Blake Rogers, married to Will Rogers, the famous actor, Hollywood. You've heard about him back in the day. Betty was born in 1944, 147 years ago. And she married Will Rogers, actually in Rogers, Arkansas. This is a piece of history that a lot of people don't know about Northwest Arkansas, specifically Rogers, Arkansas. She was born here in Montagne, which was Silver Springs back then. They moved to Rogers in a house with her mother. She took off to the Indian Territory, which is now called Oklahoma, where she met Will Rogers. They got married in Rogers, Arkansas, which we'll go to that location here next. And then ultimately they ended up in California. She died in 1944 of cancer, unfortunately. Will Rogers died in the plane wreck in Alaska, I believe in 1934. I'll have to fact check that one. She lived in their farm in the Pacific Palisades for 9 years after he died. Unfortunately, the Pacific Palisade fires that happened a year ago or so took that house out. We had the privilege to tour that house before it burned down, which was very awesome. Sad day to know that it's gone now. So anyways, we're gonna go to the location of where Will Rogers and Betty Rogers got married. I'm in Montagne right now, which was the Silver Springs, and there's nothing here. There's not a whole lot to see. Right across the street there, that's the Montagne Chicken House, which if you've ever been there, if you know this area, it's actually pretty delicious. But that's the only thing in this town that says Montagne on it, other than a population sign when you get in town. There's really nothing else here. Don't know where exactly their house was when she was born, or even if it exists anymore. So anyways, that's a little bit of history. We're gonna go check out the empty lot. It's not a house anymore, where she was married to, or got married to, Will Rogers. And then I've located her parents, which is buried in Bentonville, Arkansas. So we're gonna go to Bentonville, Arkansas, and see if we can't find their graves and pay a little respects to them. We will see you in a minute. All right, guys, we're at the next location. Looks like an empty lot, but this is 307 East Walnut Street in Rogers, Arkansas. And this is the location of where Betty's mom lived. And this is where Will Rogers and Betty got married on November 25th, 1908. It was a small ceremony here, nothing real big, nothing real large. They didn't stick around. They pretty much got married and went on their way back to Oklahoma, and eventually would end out in the Pacific Palisades in California. This place has changed quite a bit over the past over 100 years. I'm sure those houses didn't exist. And then across the street now you have a Tyson's chicken plant. But if you look right over there, that's downtown Rogers, Arkansas. So they weren't too far from downtown living in this home. Pretty awesome. A piece of Hollywood history right here in Rogers, Arkansas that no one's really gonna know about. 307 East Walnut Street, Rogers, Arkansas is where Will Rogers and Betty got married. All right, folks, we made it to the Bentonville Cemetery, and we've driven around and looked at the board to see if we can find Betty Blake's / Rogers' parents' grave. And I know the wind is probably horrendous. There's a little man trying to help me find this place. Fun little fact, Bentonville Cemetery, this is where the Sam and Helen Walton from Walmart are buried also. What's up, guys? We are still in the cemetery trying to find this before dark. They have a board up there to check things out, to try to get an idea of where headstones are. we're still not finding it. It's not, the Bentonville Cemetery is not labeled that great, like at all. Usually the roads in between have like names on it or something, and there's just nothing. So if you ever watch videos with people looking for graves, always appreciate that real good, because sometimes it's not easy. All right, guys, finally found it. So this right here, James W. Blake, 1845 to 1882, is Betty Blake's dad. And then over here, Amelia J. Blake, 1845 to 1922, is Betty Blake's mother. And I'm assuming this is probably a brother or something. I'll have to check that and get back with you. John Blake, 1872 to 1889. Maybe that can be a... yeah, that may be a family member. Of course it has to be a family member, the last name Blake. Do you have another penny? Okay. Well, I'm going to set this penny here. You want to hit his, and then I'm set one there. Little homie's gonna set it there. Yeah, they don't look like the picture. Go stand by it. So they're a lot bigger and taller.
I was looking for a little one.
That's what I was looking for. I didn't realize it. So this is kind of cool. You know, Will Rogers' wife, her parents being buried here. And like I said, I don't think very many people has documented this. The in-laws of Will Rogers, buried in Bentonville, Arkansas. All right, guys, well, thanks for watching our video on Betty Blake and her parents and the ties to Will Rogers in Rogers, Arkansas, which Will Rogers' last name has nothing to do with Rogers, Arkansas, by the way. It
Total
just,
fluke.
yeah, just a total coincidence that this is even happening.
But Rogers County is.
Rogers County, Oklahoma is named after Will Rogers' dad. And that's where they're from, is Claremore, Oklahoma. And that's where Betty and Will Rogers is buried. And we'll do a vlog on that museum at some point this summer. We've been there before, but we'll actually record it this time. But anyways, Amelia and James and John, rest in peace. And thanks to you all for watching. Peace out.
Peace.
As we're walking back to the car, here comes a whole slew of bike riders. This is a whole lot of bike riders.